YouTube channel. This is my very first video. I'm excited. And I figured what way to start off my channel by talking about my labor and delivery. So let's get into it. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about my pregnancy. So first, a lot of people didn't even know I was pregnant. I kept it very low key. It was pretty smooth until getting to around month 8. Month 8 onward, I was over it. I felt huge. I was uncomfortable. I felt heavy. It was a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot. Like, I was just having gas. I was having like back pain, especially the back pain, because think about it. You have somebody like literally 6-7 pounds growing inside of you. So that was pretty tough. But fast forwarding to my delivery. So let me go to the day before. I gave birth on Friday, so I'm going to talk about Thursday. Thursday started off pretty okay. I was already home. I already took leave. By the way, I'm a pharmacist. So I took leave already. My husband was at work, and I realized I started feeling some cramping. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but it wasn't painful. I texted my husband like, hey, I'm feeling some cramping, but it's nothing. It's just like first time this is happening since the pregnancy. So later on that day goes by, and this day I'm feeling, as the day progresses, I'm feeling pretty tired. And I remember calling my mom like, hey, I'm feeling tired. Like, I don't feel myself. Like, I'm just out of it. And she's like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. Just pray about it. You'll be okay. And then fast forward until about 10 p.m. My husband's back home. We're watching a movie. And I'm still feeling the cramping, but it's nothing intense, right? So I remember that night around 11, 12, 1 p.m., the cramps are getting stronger. It's getting stronger, getting stronger. And I remember we were going to bed, and every cramp that I'm feeling, I'm holding on to my husband because it was so bad. It was like something twisting you from the inside, from your lower abdomen, something twisting you. And I'm holding on to him with every, like, it will come and it will go. It's not a constant pain. It will come and it will go. And every time it comes, at the peak, I'm holding on to him because I couldn't, it was too bad. Then it got to a point where I couldn't lay down in the bed anymore. I had to move. And I remember, we had a doula, by the way. And I remember my husband texting my doula, saying, okay, she's having some like pain. We don't know what this is, like what's going on. And my doula responds, mind you, she's delivering. She's at a birth at the same hospital that I was going to deliver at. And this is about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. ish. So he texts her, and she's like, oh, okay, like, it's okay. It's probably just early contractions. Have her walk around because it hurts more to stay in place, which is so true. I was laying in bed and I was in so much pain. So at this point, I'm like walking to the living room, walking back, walking to the living room, walking back and forth. And I kid you not, as the minute progresses, the pain level was getting more and more. But throughout my pregnancy, I did watch a few like labor and delivery videos and tips and things like that just to help cope with the pain. And the main thing that really helped me was breathing. I had to breathe in and out, like intentional breaths. Like at the peak of the pain, I had to exhale and just focus on that breath. And it came in really, really, really handy. You'll see. So this is going on. This is going on. This is about, I didn't sleep all night. The sleep was gone. It was finished. The sleep was gone. I remember because I was in so much pain. The sleep is gone. This is around, now fast forwarding to around 6-7 a.m. It's bad. It's really bad. My husband has contacted the doula about 2 to 3 times throughout this time. And she's like, oh, it's probably like the same thing. It's early contractions. That's when we figured out she was also in a birth. So she was kind of like torn in between 2 patients in a way. So she's saying, okay, it's probably early contractions. Have her do all these different maneuvers. So she made my husband like do all these, like, it's supposed to be pain relieving positions. Like, I had to breathe. He had to like tie a scarf around my stomach just to help lift up my abdomen, to help and trying to kind of progress labor. And I was not having it. I'm like, you know what, just leave me alone. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, leave me alone, because you're not understanding the amount of pain I'm in to have me doing all these acrobatics. Then fast forward on, it's around 11, 12 p.m. and I'm gonna put a picture right here. This is me. I was over it. I was done. I was in so much pain. I was on the floor, lied out. I was done. So we called the doula one last time, and the doula's like, okay, you know what? Instead of coming to the hospital, because my doula was still telling me that it's probably early contractions or early labor, and in my head, I'm like, if this is early labor, then what is to come? What is to come? So, fast forward to around 11 a.m. in the morning. Because mind you, all night I was going through these contractions, now I know it's contractions. Before I didn't know it was contractions. I just thought it was like a pain. I didn't know that I was gonna give birth soon, basically, because I was still kind of early. I was pretty early. I did not reach my due date. I was pretty early. So I didn't know that birth was upon me. So we get to about, what was it? Like I said, okay, so it's 11 a.m. and my husband calls the doula one last time. He's like, okay, like this is really bad. She's in so much pain. What do we do? And my doula's like, okay, you know what? Have her go to her OBGYN and have her get checked, like a cervical check, to see if she's dilated or not, so you don't waste a trip to the hospital. But our OBGYN, they were already booked for the day. They couldn't see us. So we just had to go straight to the hospital. Okay, this is when it starts to get intense. So to even shower, to get ready to go, I couldn't. Like, my husband had to help me get the sponge, get the soap. I'm surprised he even told me to shower, because it was like, whoa. It was so painful. I couldn't put on my clothes after. Thank God my hospital bag was packed for the most part. So once he told me to, like, once he helped me put on my clothes and stuff, he had to run and go put the hospital bag, his stuff, in the car. And at this point, I'm furious at him. I'm like, why are you leaving me? I'm begging him, don't go. But obviously he had to put things in the car, but I was not thinking about that. You're in so much pain. You're not even thinking logically. You're just like, I need somebody next to me just in case I pass out. That's where my head was at. So eventually we get into the car and we're going to the hospital. All right, so at this point, we're in the car, and my husband is trying to have conversation with me, and I literally told him, I said, please stop talking to me. Don't talk to me, just drive. Do not talk to me, just drive. So, and even now, after the whole thing, I asked him, I was like, why were you trying to hold conversation? He actually thought like I was like passed out or something because I was so quiet. But it's either I'm quiet or I'm screaming or crying in pain. So thank God we get to the hospital. I cannot walk. My husband parks at the emergency entrance, tell someone to come get the wheelchair. I'm in the wheelchair. They're wheeling me in. And before we can get upstairs to labor and delivery, a security guard is like, oh, excuse me, you can't park there. Mind you, I'm in the wheelchair, in obvious pain. I'm in obvious pain. And she stops my husband and says, you can't park there. You have to go find another parking lot. So he leaves. He leaves me. He has to leave. He leaves me. And somebody else wheels me up. And at this point, now that I'm logically thinking, I can actually sue that hospital for making my husband leave me. But at that point, when I was going through it, it was nothing. And even my husband, it was nothing. It was our first time. We didn't realize that she shouldn't have done that. She should have just waited until he got me upstairs, until I'm transferred into the room so he can come back and move his car. But at that point, it was so much adrenaline. She said we can't park there. We couldn't park there. So somebody else wheels me upstairs, and they start to ask me all these ridiculous questions. Mind you, I'm in pain. I'm in obvious pain. I'm literally crying right now. So they start to ask me all these questions. Oh, when was the last period? When, what medications are you taking? This, that, all these things I have to sign, waivers and this and that. And I know that it's needed, but it's like, really, at this point, at this time, you don't see I'm in pain? Then yeah, so they took blood pressure. So before I got into the actual room where I gave birth, they took me into this little room. They took my blood pressure, took my vitals, my oxygen level, respirations, all that stuff. Then they asked me what's your pain level. If you had to pick how much pain you in. Like, sis, you don't see that I'm in pain right now? Like, I'm crying right now. You don't see that? Then I'm like, oh, I don't know, an 8, a 9. Asked me these questions. Then finally, they wheeled me into the room. My husband is still not here. My doula is actually at this hospital, but she's with another patient. I have all these people coming in to like set me up, hook me up, put on my clothes, whatever. I'm alone basically at this point. I don't know these people. So eventually, my husband comes. The doctor comes. The nurses come to do like a check on me, and we contacted a doula. She was on her way. She was right around the corner because, like I said, she was helping another person give birth. So eventually they come. They check my cervix, and I kid you not, guys, I was 9 centimeters dilated. And just a little backstory. I had the idea that I wanted to do the natural birth, no epidural, no pain relief, just a natural birth. I'll get on the ball. That's actually one of the reasons why I got a doula, just to help facilitate that. Okay, fast forwarding back. So they check my centimeters. They check my cervix. I'm 9 centimeters dilated, and I'm like, wait, what? First of all, this is my first delivery, so I didn't expect it to go that fast. Again, I'm like 2 weeks early. I didn't think I was in labor. So for them to say 9 centimeters dilated, we were all shocked. So my doula comes in. We're starting to get ready. My water never broke, so they had to break my water, which was very interesting. I'm not gonna go into that detail, but they did have to break my water. It wasn't painful. Then 30 minutes after they broke my water, they checked again, and I was 10 centimeters. And just a little time point. So I got to the hospital at around 1 something p.m. And with all the check-ins and all that stuff, I finally got into the labor and delivery room at 3 p.m. So this is about 3:30ish when they check my water. They check me. I'm 10 centimeters, basically ready to go. But at this point, guys, so let's rewind. I basically started labor or like contractions around 11 p.m. the night before. So throughout the night, I was going through this labor. I was going through these contractions. I was exhausted. I was starting to push. They were telling me, oh, push, push, but nothing was happening. I couldn't push. I wasn't pushing effectively. I was tired. I was exhausted. And I begged at a point, mind you, I'm 10 centimeters ready to go. I begged for the epidural, and I was so happy I got the epidural. And it kind of, I mean, it doesn't suck because it is what it is. It's pain relief, pain medication. Like, you know, thank God for technology. But like I said, I did want it to go natural, but that didn't happen. That went out the window. It's very doable for anybody out there that says they want to do natural. It's very, very doable. I just was not, I was tired. I was exhausted. I couldn't push. I just needed something to save me. Like, I wanted to, there was a point in the whole process where I was delirious. I didn't know where I was. I was just exhausted. I was in so much pain. It was bad. So yeah, I begged for the epidural. The anesthesiologist took about 15 minutes because he was doing some helping another patient. The epidural did not hurt. That was one of my main fears why I didn't want to get it as well. It didn't hurt. The contractions are 1,000 times worse. Yeah, it didn't hurt. It was actually awesome. Like, once he started it, it took about 15 minutes to kick in. And after that, I was a whole different person. Like, even the nurses were like, wow, you're like a whole different person. I'm like, yeah. But okay, so going on, I got the epidural, and then eventually it took 2 hours for me to push. I still was not pushing effectively, which is kind of what took a little bit of time. So they had to teach me how to do it. And the baby, I think he was kind of high up a little bit. So even though I was pushing, he had to work his way through. So that's kind of what stalled. But yeah, it took about 2 hours. And again, this was my first delivery, so it does take a little bit more time for some people. For other people, first time moms, it takes them 5 minutes. So I guess it just depends on you and your body. But yeah, so it took me 2 hours to push, and eventually he was here. He came out, 7 pounds, 0 ounces, 7 pounds flat. And right away, I said I wanted Chick-fil-A. I was exhausted, I was hungry, but there was so much adrenaline. Um, so yeah, I got my Chick-fil-A. But a little before that, so when a baby came out, when he came out, they threw him on me, and he had like all this stuff on him. So I'm like excited to have him on me, but then I'm like patting him, patting him. I promise you I love my kid, but it was just like, it was a lot of substances. So that kind of caught me off guard. I was a little like, but yeah, so that was my labor and delivery. Dang, it's actually kind of short. It doesn't seem that long, but yeah, that was my labor and delivery story. Overall, it was it was definitely an experience. It was really an experience. In terms of pain, it is for me. It is painful, but it is doable. I guess like for me to make it to 10 centimeters. I guess for me it was doable, but I was just exhausted. I did not want to put myself through all of that anymore. So I got the epidural, and honestly, for the next time, I'm getting the epidural as soon as possible. It is what it is. I love the epidural. If the epidural had like a stock, I would invest in it because it's just that good. Like, why would you put yourself through all of that? For me personally, I'm not gonna put myself through all of that. So, yeah.